today on a organizational leadership model that we've adopted in the United States. It's titled Lead, Develop, Care. In the States, we were dealing with some issues with supervisory roles and leadership. So we started to really pray about, okay, God, what does a word, scripture say about leadership? And a lot of times if I say leadership, our natural bent would be, we would say, what is a leader? And we would all say, a servant. And that's true, right? But that's more about our identity. But a better model to think about would be, what is a shepherd? How does a shepherd lead? Well, they just don't lead. They also develop their flock, and they also care for their flock. So this is a organizational leadership model that we're going to be targeting today. But in your handout, you have something that looks a little bit different. Bill's notes are in front. My notes are called the 4 conversations. Okay? So this is a little bit different than a classic lesson. What we're going to be doing is we're going to have a conversation about the Lead, Develop, Care model. Now, I can't do everything that I would like to do, because if we actually had this conversation, it would take at least 4 hours, if not 5, because it's a conversation that you could actually have with a friend, okay? So it's not just a lesson, it's a conversation that helps you facilitate this conversation on leading, developing, and caring for people. So my goal here is to kind of dance with you. We're going to dance through this lesson. I can't hit everything. You have the script, so we're going to be talking about the script. My main goal here is kind of to teach you the concepts of lead, develop, and care, and also have some fun. Okay, this is going to be this is adult learning, so I'm going to be asking you questions. We're going to have time for personal reflection. We're going to have small group time. So I'm not going to stand up here and be the mini preacher and preach to you for 45 minutes, right? We're going to have interactive time and really unpack this idea of a shepherd's model of leadership, okay? So I just wanted you to understand that. So just to begin our time, this is the first conversation script. I want you to think about, what are all of the areas that you express leadership in? Just pause for a moment. Your role with the navigator, so that's right here, right? Think about it. Think about work, right? Who are your direct reports? What teams do you lead, right? Who are your ministry leaders? Who are the people that you lead? But I want you to go beyond simply ministry leadership, and I want you to start thinking about your family, your neighborhoods. Start to think about leadership outside of the ministry confines, okay? So just pause and think about that for a moment. Who do you lead? Okay. So outside of ministry. It's ministry, but it's outside of ministry. Now, what we want to talk about is leading within those quadrants, developing people, which means, when we're going to go into these terms later on, which means expanding a person's capacity. Disciple making is a developmental piece, right? Expanding a person's capacity, but then caring for a person, truly caring for their well-being. And we'll talk about those definitions later, but that's what this model is. So the next piece is, what does the Bible say about leadership? And we talked about briefly, it's beyond being a servant, it's rolling into being a shepherd. So what I want you guys to do is open up your Bibles to Psalm 23. You can turn it on, you can open it up, but I want you to take a moment and think about what passages or verses or words address lead, what passages address develop, passages and words that address care. So take some time, a couple minutes, read through that, and start identifying some concepts or some words. And then we'll do some group share. So read through Psalm 23, reflect. This is a passage on the heart of God. David's reflecting on being a shepherd. And sometimes those words blend, right? Sometimes leadership blends into development. Sometimes development blends into care. But still try to identify those passages and those concepts. All right, friends. You can also do the same kind of exercise when you're looking at Ezekiel 34 as well. You can do this exercise also looking at John 10. So, in your reading, where do you see the concept of lead? What verse or what word does David address leading the sheep? What was that?
Verse 2.
Verse 2, can you state it, the verse 2?
It says that he leads me and he say quiet waters.
Okay, beautiful. There, leads. He leads me by still waters. Okay, more. What are other places that address this concept of leading?
Verse 1, shepherding.
Shepherding, yep. Okay, yes.
Verse 3.
Verse 3.
Leads me to the path of righteousness.
Okay, excellent.
Verse 2, he makes me lie down.
Okay, that's leadership, right? He makes me lie down. He doesn't say, if you want to lie down, right? He makes me lie down. That's leadership. Okay? Others. Any other ones in there? And think about leadership. This is beautiful, isn't it? There's a beauty to leadership. Right? This is just not task. There's a task with it, but there's beauty to it. What about development? What do we see develop? The concept of develop. Developing a sheep. I think development in this text could also blend a little bit with leading. Let's do the third one. Care. Where does he care for a sheep? What concepts? What word? What verse?
Verse 1. I shall not want.
Okay, yes. I think that's almost like even developmental.
Yeah.
Teaching us, developing us, and not wanting anything. I lack nothing. Right, Pastor? Yeah, that's development. Development or care. Where else do you see it?
5,
What's that?
verse 5.
What does it say, Ezekiel?
Care.
What's that?
You prepare a table before me.
Yes, he's caring for him. Right? But what about like, even though I go through the darkest valleys, I'm not going to fear, right? Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. So a staff for the shepherd, the staff was a pole. A lot of times had metal on top or bells. And as a shepherd would walk, the bells would ring. The sheep would not even look up. They would eat and just follow the direction of the good shepherd. Right? The rod. Does anybody know what the rod was for? That's a hint. What did the rod do? What's that? Protect, yeah. Protection from beasts, from thieves. So they protected. Protection is a part of care. Also, the rod was used to correct. So if a sheep would wander off, like constantly, what the shepherd would do, he would take the rod, he'd take the arm of the sheep and break it. Pow. Then he would bind it back up, mend it, and then the shepherd would walk around with it, feed the sheep, water the sheep. He would correct the sheep, right? Don't wander anymore, and that sheep would never leave his side. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me, right? So these are just something to think about. It's filled, this passage is filled with leading, developing, but also caring, okay? So this is the biblical model that we're going to dive into. So the first part of the definition is leading. So that's going to be your second page. We're going to jump into that. And maybe I want to go here too. This is a part of the conversation before we go into the concept of leading. There's actually two more things, and I do have time. I was going to jump over them, but we do have some time. What happens in your life, or if in your ministry, or in your experience, if any one of these operational aspects or these pieces of the model does not exist in your leadership experience? What would happen? What happens if a leader doesn't lead? What happens if a leader doesn't develop? What happens if a leader doesn't care? What happens? How do you feel?
I think if the leader doesn't care, the people feel like they're just numbers, statistics towards something, and there's no deeper connection with the leader.
Yeah, excellent. Yes.
I think just following the model of the shepherd and sheep, if a leader doesn't lead, I'm looking at the shepherd, the sheep could wander off. And
Perfect.
Yeah, get into other places they're not supposed to be. So that's what happens. Like the followers just wander, you become distracted, get engrossed with things that probably are not supposed to be.
Right. Without vision, the people perish. Without leadership, the sheep wander. Excellent. What about so if you don't have this, what happens if you don't have development?
No future.
What's that?
There's no future.
No future. Explain that, Ezekiel. What do you mean?
So like learning new trends will always help us to get to a better result in future.
Excellent. Yeah.
No transition.
Yes.
No transition.
No transition. Yes.
No multiplication.
No multiplication. Excellent.
Everyone will do as he sees it.
Okay.
So that.
Yes. Excellent. So this model, you need all aspects to lead well biblically. We feel this way. We need to be good leaders, we need to be excellent developers, and we need to care for our people. And if you take away any of those, there's dysfunction in our leadership, on our leadership teams. Okay. Now here's another piece of the conversation. Everybody has a strength, okay? Something that they just naturally do, right? You just by nature, it's like breathing, you do it. All right? Everybody has kind of a number two default, which means I do it pretty well. I'm not great at it, but I do it pretty well. That's going to be we're going to call it a stretch. Okay? You have a strength, you have a stretch, then everybody has something we're going to call a struggle. You're kind of weak at it. You're not great at it. You really got to work hard. It's not natural. You got to put effort into it. So in your group, I just want you to kind of turn to people around you. I want you to just say, what is your strength as a leader? What is your stretch as a leader? And what do you think you struggle with? Okay? So for example, mine. I think I'm naturally this is my number one. This is my strength. I breathe it. I develop by nature. I don't need to put a lot of time into it. I just develop men. I develop teams. That's kind of that discipleship maker in me, but I do it with people anywhere I go. Like one of my roles with the Navigators is I'm an international trainer. I've impacted 22 nations in 8 years. I love developing people. My next one is probably here. I care well. I am a pastor. I was a pastor, and I look at people, I want to know your story, I have empathy. So that's my number, that comes pretty easy. It's like my second strength. It's kind of my stretch, but it's right there. Leadership, I got to work at. Leadership, I'm a good leader, I'm not the best leader, but out of those 3, that's probably mine. So here's my quadrant: strength, stretch, struggle. So turn to some friends and you guys discuss. We'll just do like 5 minutes. What do you think your strength, stretch, and struggle is? Okay? So this came from the big dog. This came from Big Bill Mowry. I really appreciate this. You got to listen to the big dog. When the big dog talks, you have to listen. So Bill also said, this is good. I was going to say it differently, but he says, what gives you joy in ministry? Interesting, isn't it? Like, I would say another way you could discern your strength is what's life-giving in your ministry. Right? So, but we all have these. And this is not a critique on you. So, part of leadership is self-awareness, right? We need to be self-aware. What is my strength? What is my stretch? What is my struggle? It's very important for us to be self-aware, but it also helps us to be self-aware of the people that we're caring for and also developing. What is their strength? What is their stretch? And what is their struggle? Okay? So let's shift into now some definitions, okay? So this is going to be on your next page, and there's going to be some leadership here. So let's look at this definition for the idea of leadership, okay? Intentionally influencing and enabling people to accomplish a given task. Love that definition. And you're going to notice something with all these definitions. It's always going to be intentionally. So intentionally influencing and enabling people to accomplish a given task. That's lead. What words stand out to you in that definition? What captures your imagination?
Influence.
Influence? Okay. Intentionally. Okay. Anything else stand out? Task. Yes. That's the boss. Task. So I love all those words, the intentionally influencing. But when we're thinking about leading, it's about task. And it's getting the job done. Okay? Now this is the longest conversation because this is a leadership model. Okay? So task is what we're going to be talking about. Now with leading, there are 4 operational aspects to leading. The first is this idea of setting direction. And this is in your notes. Okay? Setting direction. What does setting direction even mean? Like our brother was talking about it. What's another word for setting direction? In leadership. Vision. Yeah, exactly. So setting direction, another word is vision casting. This is what we're going, this is what we're going to accomplish. Now, we say this a lot. We say this idea that vision leaks. Vision leaks. Why does it leak? Because people forget. All right? So we have to keep this in mind. Setting direction means keeping a vision in front of our people because vision leaks. People get distracted. We need to make sure our people know where we're going. It's a must. We need to say it consistently. Almost, you can even have them write it down on their desk or keep it in their memos or in their notes. Keeping the vision out front of people, okay? I'm going to go forward because we can spend time here, but I want to keep moving due to time. We're running a little bit short. The next operational aspect is align. Align. Now, this is probably one of the most difficult things with leadership, and I'm going to give you a quick illustration here. It's once vision is cast, it's like this. We're all getting on the bus, right? Because that bus is going in a set direction. But we need to make sure that we get the right people on the bus, right? Getting them in the right seats so that we can accomplish the task, right? Getting them on the bus and putting people in the right seats and making sure we have the right resources. So when you're thinking about alignment is in the realm of thinking. We need to make sure our people are on the same page with thoughts, thinking, actions, resources, and people. Okay? We need to get everybody on the bus and on the right seat. Here's some questions when it comes down to alignments. Okay? It's on the next page. Are your people set up for success? Now, these aren't judgment questions, but I think it's really important for leaders to ask these hard questions as it pertains to alignment. Right? One, we got to ask the question, do my people understand the vision? Right? Am I communicating it well? But we also need to ask alignment questions. Are your people set up for success? It's a really good question. Remember, it's about the task. Are they aligned in their thinking? Are the right people involved? And if the right people are not involved, we need to recruit the right people in our mission to accomplish the vision. Do we have the right resources to proceed? And if we don't have the right resources, one, we need to pray about it, or two, we don't do it. Because we're wasting people's time. So we have to question, do we have the right resources? Are our people's actions aligned with the direction that has been set? So these are some things for you to ponder. Once again, this is a script for you to work through later, or once again, you can have conversations with your direct reports or the people on your leadership team, okay? But I'm going to continue on here. The third operational aspect of leading is motivates. Motivating people. Very important. And we have to question, step back and think, how are our people motivated to accomplish the task? Right? How are they motivated? Do we know our people well enough to motivate them? One of my mentors with leadership, they said, candy is a really bad motivator. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Why is candy a bad motivator? The treat, it's temporary, it's sweet, it goes away fast, right? It's not a good motivator. So we got to think, how are our people motivated? We have to know this, that people are motivated in a different way, in a different fashion. I'm motivated by giving me a leadership role. That motivates me. You value me enough to give me this task to do. You believe in me that much. I don't need candy. You know what I need? Give me a job and don't tell me what to do. That's my motive, right? Some people need words of encouragement, but how do you motivate your people? It's really important. How are they individually motivated? So that's the third operational aspect. The fourth, which is my weakness, that's why it's my struggle, is manage. And we do have to think about management, organizational management. We have to think about, what do we have set up to monitor and evaluate people's progress? How do we establish the win within our organization? Those are very important things. What's our structures, right? That we put in place to make sure people are doing the jobs that they are supposed to be doing. So we need to contemplate the concept of management. So this is lead. Okay? So, what's the first operational aspect? And I actually want you to do something really silly with me, and this keeps you moving because your T's wearing off. What's the first operational aspect? You got to do it with me. It's an S. Setting direction. You got to do it. I'm not the only one looking cheesy. Okay? Okay, set direction. You guys got to do it or I'm not doing it. Setting direction. Okay, next one. Alignment. What's the third? Motivate. What's the fourth one? Manage. Okay, there you go. Okay, what's the first one? Setting direction. The next one? Align. The next one? The next one? You guys are expert leaders now. You guys are going to lead so well.
Give us the degree.
I'll give you the certification. So, that's lead. Now, what I want you guys to do, we're running short on time, Andrew. How do you want to handle this? We got tea in like 10 minutes. Can we go like 15, like
Just go.
just keep going?
Yeah.
Okay, keep going. Okay. All right. The next operational aspect is something that I want you guys to spend some time doing. Have some personal reflection on the area of development. And this is one thing that Navigators is really good on, but this kind of helps you break down. Actually, I'm going to give you the definition too. I want you to spend some time pondering some of these questions. Okay? But the definition for develop is, once again, intentionally strengthening people's capacity to grow and contribute. I love that definition, right? Intentionally strengthening people's capacity to grow and contribute. What are some words that stand out there for you? Intentionally contribute. So they're contributing once again to what? The vision that's set, the direction. They're contributing, right? They're not off the bus. They're contributing. What are some other powerful words you see? Capacity. Okay? And once again, we're going to blend these two ideas together. When you think about development, it's expanding a person's capacity. It's expanding it. It's growing. It's pushing out their frames. That's what development is. Think about discipleship, but it also pertains to ministry. It also pertains to leadership. It's developing them, pushing out their capacity to do more for the kingdom. Okay? Now, I want you to let's do 5 minutes, and you're gonna kind of work through these operational aspects. When it comes to development, we need to teach people. That's a key developmental aspect. We need to model to people. We can do this well with disciple making. And then we need to coach. I want to explain coaching really, really quick. Just think about it this way. Asking more questions and don't tell. It's ask, don't tell. It's asking spirit-led questions. That's what coaching is. Right? Not telling them, this is how you fix the problem. Asking them, what would you do different? How could you implement this? So coaching is about asking questions. So teaching, modeling, and then coaching is how we develop people. So take 5 minutes, and I want you just to walk through these questions under teach, under model, and under coaching. Okay? Just walk through those. Think about your ministry context, and remember, it's ministry context, it's the people that you're leading, it's your direct reports, it's your family. But just start asking yourself those questions. Take some time, be quiet, and you can either write out or you can just ponder it, okay? It's time for us to individually process. And we'll come back and we'll talk about it. has like 2 more minutes. I know it's short time. Just want you to process some of those 3 operational aspects: teach, model, and coach. Okay, some people are done. Some people are still writing. Once again, you can work on this at another date or time for you personally. So what are your insights with teach? Any insights there off those questions? One of mine, as I've thought about this, is I know as a teacher, I struggle with a concept called the curse of knowledge. The curse of knowledge means when I teach or I say statements or words, I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. But they don't, do they? Teaching, we need to be crystal clear in our communication, and we cannot assume anything. Like, for example, I did that with coaching. I didn't assume that you knew what I was talking about, because I could assume that, right? But we all have the curse of knowledge. So under teaching, what are we trying to accomplish what we're teaching? But a lot of times we don't accomplish what we're trying to teach because we assume. So we need to put a lot of thought, a lot of energy, and what are we trying to accomplish when we're teaching our people, the people that we're leading? Okay? That's just an example of a reflection. What about model? Anything under model or teaching? You have any insights?
The model is living out what you're teaching.
Okay. Yeah, it is.
So it's not just like do what I say or don't do what I do. It's do what I say and do what I do. So you're modeling.
So important. Never assume or tell or ask somebody, your direct report, to do something that you've not modeled, right? Do it as come with me and let me show you how I do it personally. Now you might do it differently, but let me model, let me show you. Don't assume, once again. Okay? What about coaching? Anything under coaching? Or modeling? Or teaching? Any insights you have? In my leadership structure, I flipped these. I was a trained teacher, right? So I have a master's in Christian studies from Trinity Evangelical Divinity School, one of the best seminaries in the country, in America. I'm a trained teacher, right? And I can teach, right? And I've shifted that. Instead of teaching, I actually try to target this with developing the men that I'm working with. I coach first. I want to be a master coach. I want to be the best coach I can be. Asking spirit-led questions, kind of following Jeffrey's lead. Being a good coach. I want to do this second. I want to do this third. I want to ask a lot of good spirit-led questions. I want to model what I expect. And then I'm going to teach on the backside and do it really, really well. Okay? And this is how we develop people. Any thoughts or takeaways off of what we've covered so far? We've covered leading, right? Setting direction, aligning, motivating, managing. This is development. We don't need to spend a lot of time here because this is an area that you guys are strong in. Any thoughts or insights off of this model so far that you have? Or questions even? Before we go in the third realm of care. Oh, yes.
I guess my question is, how do we know when the need is coaching or teaching or modeling? Because sometimes we tend to coach people who need teaching.
Oh, it's a
and yeah.
good question. I still would coach them, ask them what's and how's, and to let them talk and figure out, do I need to teach or not? But that's a really good question. There's a time to put on, so here's my coaching hat, I'm putting it on. There's a time I'm putting on my teaching hat. But that's wisdom, right? God, what do I do? Do I need to model and show them? Do I need to ask really good questions? Or do I need to teach them? But that's really knowing your people well enough, what they need. But that's a really good question. Anybody have any insights on that? Bill, what do you think on that?
Yeah, I think it's discerning needs, like what you just said, that I think you discern needs by observe and ask questions.
And then you're pulling out what their perspectives are through asking questions. And then you can kind of dance with them and go where you need to go. That's a really good insight.
Maybe just some observation.
Yeah.
Because you say these are leadership development, and just for us to reflect, maybe part of the thinking is each respective ministry. Are we doing more? If I am a trainer, because teaching closely related to training.
Right, teaching, training, yeah.
Do we do, as a trainer, how am I doing in terms of modeling what I'm teaching?
Mm-hmm.
Because if I only give training and give content, generally, and I'm not modeling, we end up with people who are they are knowledgeable about the content, but there's no modeling.
Yes.
But what I discovered is that as I model, I need to empower them. And the best thing to do to empower people, from where I stand, is using the coach approach. Because in coaching, we are helping you, I'm modeling, but I want you to repeat what I'm doing, using your own resources.
Yes.
And your own experience.
Yeah.
So basically, when it's about your own resources and your own experience, when I do that, basically the best thing, of course, one of the best, not the only one of the best approach will be to coach. So as a trainer, need to know when and how to do it.
Yep.
And maybe trying to get the basic skills in each of those.
Yeah. And it's a balance, right? That's the balanced approach. We need to do all of these things. That's a good insight, Jeffrey. Really good insight. All right, friends, let's shift our gears so then we can have some tea and coffee. Last section here. We're going to go under the realm of care, and that's page 39. Here's care. Shepherding. Think about shepherding once again. Here's the definition. Intentionally watching over, right, just like a shepherd, intentionally watching over and responding to the needs and the well-being of people. Intentionally watching over and responding to the needs and well-being of your people. All right, words that stand out. Watching over, okay? If you watch over, you need to be aware. You need to be on guard, right? Just like a shepherd. A shepherd doesn't ignore his sheep. His eyes are always on them. Where are they at? Where are the wolves? Watching over. Good. And yes?
Needs.
Needs.
Yes.
Their needs. Yep.
I think there's an issue there because sometimes we want to figure out the dealing with perceived needs or felt needs, so that hopefully you're helping.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes. Excellent. Yes. Any other words, other thoughts that grab your attention? Responding to them? Yes. And it's our job to respond well, right? So if leading is task, development is capacity, the key word for this idea of care is well-being, because all those things funnel into the well-being, the needs, the response, all of those funnel down into the well-being of the person. Okay, so if you want to underline one, that's what this is all about, the well-being of people. And once again, those words are excellent to ponder, but this is about the well-being of your people. So there are 4 operational aspects here, and I'm just going to dance through them quickly. Okay, 1, we need to know our people, right? We need to know them. And go back to what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses? We got to know our people. If we're expected to lead them, we need to know them, right? What is their strength? What is their stretch? What is their struggle? We need to know. We need to know. What are they good at? What are they bad at? We need to know our people. The next one is the idea of connecting. How do you think knowing is different than connecting? They're similar. How is knowing different than connecting?
When you connect with people, I can know you as neighbors.
Yeah.
But when we get intimate, we connect in ways, especially where there is trust and safety that I'm able to open up.
Yeah.
So to me, maybe that's what I think.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Emotions.
Yeah. What's that?
Emotions involved.
In asking questions about them. It's spending time with people, isn't it? Like even in the office, like grabbing the coffee, going for lunch, having common experiences, asking about their family, asking about their struggles, asking about, hey, what are you celebrating in your life right now? What's going really well? Right? Connecting with them. So that, Jeffrey's right, so that intimacy is established. So that I know you love me, and I kind of love you. Kind of. You love me, and it goes both ways, right?
Yeah.
Jeffrey loves me, I love Jeffrey. He's my brother, my friend. We can connect on deeper levels. I've been to his house. We've been in the United States. We've had a lot of memories together. We've been able to connect. So connecting with your people, it's not always big travels, but it's how do we connect with our people in a realistic fashion? How do we connect with our team? So knowing them, connecting with them, and this is really important here, providing for our people. Providing for them so they can actually accomplish the task. Providing for their individual needs. Right? Providing for, if they have a job to do they have everything they need? Right? You can't provide everything, but at least being aware of it, being prayerful about it. How do I need to provide? Then the last one is protection. Protecting people from the internal threats, but also the external threats that surround them. Okay? One of the areas I've protected some of my staff in is that I've had some staff members that are workaholics. They work too much. They're not spending enough time with their family because the mission is everything. So talking about, hey, let's talk about some priority management here, right? Like, here's your work time. How's your family time fitting in? Where's your date night with your wife or your husband? Like, that's both an internal threat, but also an external threat. We need to protect our people. There are wolves out there. And some of our people's greatest strengths are some of their greatest threats. So we need to make sure that we're actually protecting our people. Not only providing for them the things they need to accomplish the task, but also protecting them. So that, this is one of my favorite words in the ministry, sustainability can occur. Well-being and actually like living out, their full life in Christ and ministry is sustainable. There's a good, healthy rhythm and pace in ministry that I'm caring for them. Okay? So, let's do these 4 operational aspects. 1, we need to know. See, we're not doing the 3. You guys got the 3. We need to know them. Right? We need to connect with them. All right? We need to provide for them. And this is my favorite. We need to protect them. That's what I'm best at right there. That's my care site coming out. My old wrestler form's coming out. Right, so know, right? Right? What else? What's next? Connect. Okay, what's next? Provide. What's next? The favorite. Yeah. So that is the model. That's leading, developing, and caring for people. Any thoughts or questions before we go to tea? And coffee. For Americans, coffee. For Kenyans, tea.
Yeah, just thinking about when you did mention the connect, and I think if the models are followed in this order, it will help to deal with this issue of connecting, because the coaching model, to a sense, would give that platform of connection, because that's what coaching is about.
Yes.
Naturally you connect, through the coaching conversations.
Yeah, and how do they draw that? That's a great point. The drawing here, see how the branding of it, it's like this, right? It's a teardrop, goes like this. It kind of goes like, they all interconnect. Remember this? You see that on that page number 33? They all kind of go together. Here it is. You see how they're all kind of connected?
Yeah.
That's Jacob's point. That's your point. They all flow. You need all three of them, but they all bleed into one another and they all work together in uniform. Okay? That's a great insight. Yes. Other questions or thoughts? Do you have a better feel for this model? A better understanding of the concepts? This takes a long time to master, but I just wanted to make a little dent, give you something to walk away with, the 4 conversations. I just pray God's blessing upon you as you lead, develop. Oh, yes, go ahead.
Under care,
Yes.
there's an aspect of providing. You as a leader, you're leading a congregation of some people. And let me choose, there's a way of providing, different ways of providing. Let me choose just providing financially. Those people that you are leading, they actually want you to provide them financially, anything. When you are planning something, they are looking at you, anything that you are providing. So, how can you change their mindset and their opinion of they want you to provide them in terms of financial? How can you change their mindset without affecting them?
Yeah, I mean, go back to that, like Bill. I think Bill just said it. I'm stealing his answer. You said coaching.
Well, I think coaching in essence is that you're helping people assume responsibility as well for their lives and their decisions by asking questions. And so that sometimes we do need to provide, literally give people
Yes,
things.
at times.
Yeah, at times, and other times, before the Lord, what's my responsibility in this setting? I think that could be the question to ask, is that before the Lord, what's my responsibility in this setting?
Yeah, and under that definition, it says we can't provide all things for all people. In the definition, it also, under protection, we can't protect people from all things. So it is asking questions and asking good questions and placing the ownership back onto them instead of them always doing this. I want. The question you could ask, how can you contribute? Right?
What is your skill in this game?
Yeah, what is your skill? Yeah, so providing, it is providing resources. Sometimes provision means giving direction and wisdom.
Maybe next, part of it is I am leading, and I want to take the people through this, is to ask myself, as I mentioned, how does provide look like for me as I walk with Andrew?
Yes, yes.
So that I need to just bring that clarity
Yeah.
as we walk, so that I'm also able to define my scope when it comes to providing as I lead.
Yes.
And so basically, this is what we mean, because this is a realm of coaching. Basically, provide. Bill will tell you that you ask them, what does provide mean for you? So you part of this to help to unpack this. And it's not just provide should not only mean giving.
Yes.
So package.
Right. It's also providing is also creating healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
Provision, creating boundaries. Yes. Good, my friends. Thank you. I'm here. I'm available if you want to unpack this in any more detail. We can talk over coffee or tea. Can I pray for us? Father God, we just pause and we are so thankful for your mercy and your grace and just giving us this time together. It's an honor for us to come and serve our African brothers and sisters and share with them through our failures, share with them through the successes you have given us, our experiences we're able to give and serve and love. God, we just pray that you help us to lead as you led us. Lead as you lead us. Then we're looking at Psalm 23, when we're looking at John 10, when we're looking at Ezekiel 34, there is a truth that you obviously lead us, you give us direction, but you also develop us, you expand our capacity, but you care deeply for us. You're perfect in these things. Jesus, as we're uniquely designed and formed by you and crafted and created by you, help us to be self-aware, but also lead as you led us. Leading our people, developing our people, caring for our people. Help us to do the same. For your name's sake and for your glory. Not ours, but for your glory. In your holy name, amen.
Amen.
Thanks, friends.